Welcome everybody to the City of Joliet Council meeting here in the City of Joliet Council Chambers. Today's Tuesday, January 7th, 2025, here at 6:31. The Mayor Terry Darcy presiding.
We'll start with the invocation, followed by the pledge.
Let us pray. Almighty God, you so generously bestow your gifts upon us in abundance. We are most grateful for all that you continue to do for your people and for the many favors you grant. We gather in your name. Be with us this evening. Enlighten the members of our council, our city staff, our city manager. May everything that they do begin with your inspiration and wisdom. God of wisdom and justice, through you all authority is rightly administered, laws are enacted, and judgments are decreed. Continue to guide and support our mayor, members of the city council, our city manager, and all staff, especially as we begin this new year. Give them the strength to know your will, so that all decisions they make may be done with a desire to please you. May their work be conducted with righteousness, and may they always promote what is for the good and welfare of the people of Joliet. We likewise commend to your care the residents of our city, that they too may be blessed and sanctified, so that together we may work for the betterment of our community and enjoy the blessings promised to those who remain faithful to you. For we pray to you, who are one Lord and God, now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Mayor.
Feel better, Father.
Yeah, I want to thank Father Chris Grove for all his years of service, and he's our police and fire chaplain, and congratulations on your retirement. So.
Thank you.
Oh. Why weren't we having a party for him?
As well.
Oh, all right.
Thank God.
Okay, well, they weren't clear on that.
We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Darcy?
Here.
Councilman Cardenas?
Here.
Councilman Clement?
Here.
Councilman Guerrero?
Here.
Councilman Hug?
Here.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Here.
Councilman Mudrin?
Here.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Here.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Here.
Next is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written with the following change? Remove Council Memo Number 28-25, authorization to fund Predevelopment Loan Draw 10 to Riverwalk Homes LLC in the amount of $298,366.77 from consent agenda to be voted on separately.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Abstain.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
I want to know why it's being pulled for separately.
I
that's all.
requested it.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is citizens to be heard on agenda items. We have Trista Brown.
Good evening. I want to just address, my name is Trista Brown. I'm just coming as a citizen, and not as a group. I did speak yesterday concerning the advisory board. I just want to just remind you guys when you make that decision. It's beautiful to see all the people with all their accolades and all their titles behind their name. That's wonderful. But what's most beautiful, I met a man named Jesus who was a human being who came with no titles except to die for each one of us. And in that title that he came as a man to all different type of people. They didn't have all these titles. I'm saying a person who's a servant, I'm a servant of God first, but I love my city of Joliet, and I've been here serving for a lot. And I think people should think about the citizens. They should be the people that we serve. And we vote for each one of you because you serve our community. So that's what I want to, when you vote, look at the advisory board. It's great that we have all these people on there. But do they serve our community? Do they serve for each one of us, black, white, Mexican, whatever that may be? Or do they serve themselves? So we need to take away the power and put the power back into the people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on an agenda item?
Yeah. Good evening, council. Happy New Year. Couple of things. One is, as you certainly well know, I clumsily filed a petition to be a candidate for a position on the city council. And in the process of going through those hearings, my name was removed from the ballot. I'll say the board, the hearing board sustained it with all of the power that they had to address that issue. And I was just extremely proud of the way that the members of the board looked at the way that thing, or the requirements and the expectations and the limitations that they had. And they just kind of, tore it apart, kicked the tires and all kinds of things to determine a path forward for me. And in that effort, it was still determined that they had to sustain the objections by the objector. And I'm just really wanting to say thank you, Mayor, Councilman Hugg, and as well as City Clerk O'Hara for the effort that you lent to that process, as you wanted to be clear in terms of what the outcome that you had to make. So thank you very much. I just want to preface my comments with that. But the other thing that I'm wanting to ask about is this library thing, where that $3.5 million loan that it seems to be being asked of the city. Couple of things I'm saying, is that the best priority use? Or is that the most important thing that we could do with $3.5 million? Is it so urgent that it has to be passed today? In addition to that, it seems like what's coming forward is to accept it. And I want to make sure that if you do, how did the library arrive at $3.5 million? Is that something that where you've already formed out the work and the labor of who's going to do those things? And if that's how you arrived at it, I'm concerned about whether minority contractors or local service providers who are qualified to provide some of the contractual labor to do whatever that $3.5 million is going to do to enhance the library. I just want to make sure that if you're spending that money, that local vendors, whether they're painters, plumbers, whatever they do, will have an opportunity to take advantage of that money. If it's already been settled that we're going to give this money to Larry Crawford Enterprises to do that work, I don't know if that's fair if Larry's not going to disseminate and utilize local resources to make that project happen. And so my concern is that if that's what you're going to do, make sure that the people of Joliet who has the ability to provide those contractual services get an opportunity to do so. Thanks for hearing me.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Council, and Happy New Year to you all. I want to express my concerns regarding the makeup of the Citizens Committee for the Comprehensive Plan. While I understand the importance of including individuals with expertise, the current list of members seem to overlook a critical component: the voices of regular residents directly impacted by the city decisions, particularly on land development. For a long time, the neighborhood councils in Joliet have played a vital role in representing the concerns and needs of our diverse communities, yet they are not adequately represented on this committee. With 13 members already on the list, I respectfully ask that additional seats be allotted to members of these neighborhood councils. Doing so will provide a more accurate reflection of our community's diverse voices and ensure the community's decisions are grounded in the lived experiences of Joliet residents. The committee has the potential to shape the future of our city. Let's ensure it truly represents the people who call Joliet home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we meet? Hey, last night I was doing some thinking, and with this committee, advisory committee thing, you know, hoping that you get enough people to where they could value the people who have suffered lives, quality of life, you know, it keeps getting the word quality of life keeps getting lost, because like I said, you know how dangerous my old road was turning into that super semi-truck highway. But I was thinking last night, it's like, you know, because Center Point, North Point had all this stuff in writing years ago to where you feel you gotta allow them to do all this stuff. You know, you gotta be like Elwood. Elwood stood up to Center Point, and Elwood was brave enough to take away Walter Strong Drive from Center Point. They had that closed down permanently. Because why? Because the trucks kept crashing through the railroad crossing gates trying to beat the red light and get through the red lights and that. And then they kept interfering in funeral processes. And then we still got trucks that like to go and think they could go through down the road that the cemetery's on and get through and get to the intermodals there. And they keep on having to turn around and run over graves of people buried over there, veterans buried over there in the cemetery over there in Elwood. Now, Elwood was brave enough to stand up to Center Point and say, look, your trucks are being too dangerous. We are gonna close Walter Strong. You're not coming through with what you said you're gonna do. This advisory committee you wanna have formed need to value that same kind of thing. Value the safety of the residents, value the quality of life of residents, and if you have to shut things down to jeopardize people, to keep people safe, and you have to do that. Like I said, I still got neighbors that live on Vetter Road, which is South Hobo Road now, and the trucks go speeding up and down that road day and night. I sit up there at night and watch my friend when he's working at that warehouse up the road, at the Mars Candy warehouse, and I watch those semi-trucks. They fly up and down that road. The only thing at present, they think I'm a cop. They think I'm a cop, so then they slow down. They flash their lights at me because they think I'm a cop, and they wave to me because they think I'm a cop. Well, obviously, I'm not a cop. But I shouldn't be the one being out there, you know, making these trucks slow down. And I'm not telling them to slow down or anything, but it's just they feel that I'm a cop. But that's the only police presence that's out there 24/7. You know, you've got all this industry, and you ain't got the proper police force to back it up. And I hope this safety committee can do like Elwood and start standing up to Center Point and stand up to these businesses and corporations and say, you're too much of a health risk. You know, you're creating too many hazards here, and we need to give the people back their lives. So please, with this advisory committee you choose, you need to take into account and get more people that have been suffering and get their views and value their views, because they're the ones that have to live with it. And you all know what's happened to me. So I don't want any more people to suffer like I've had to suffer. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on an agenda item this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to council committee reports. Land Use and Economic Development.
Land Use and Economic Development Committee met on Wednesday, December 18th at 2 p.m. here in the City Hall Council Chambers. In attendance was myself, Councilman Guerrero, and the IKEA and the staff, city staff, and IKEA representatives. It was a short meeting with to review a non-actionable item. The IKEA Distribution Center approached the city with an opportunity to co-apply for a transportation improvement grant. The grant requires the applicant to have a municipal sponsor. The grant would cover an installation of 12 electric vehicle chargers 4 level 2 chargers will be available for public use, which would help build out the EV infrastructure in Joliet. The city of Joliet is not required to provide any funding for this project. The city of Joliet would be just be responsible for oversight of the compliance of the grants. And that was the only thing that we reviewed that day. Did I miss anything? Or on that? It was a short meeting, and that's my report.
Thank you.
Could you repeat that?
Got a grant.
Okay, next we have public safety.
Thank you. The Public Safety Committee met today here in the council chambers at 5:30. Present was Councilwoman Coolman and Ibarra and myself. It was pretty short agenda. We did have a presentation. We approved the minutes from December 3rd, 2024. There were no citizens to be heard on any agenda items. We had a presentation from John Lukancic, formerly from the fire department. He's our community emergency response team coordinator. Whenever a disaster, the presentation was in reference to a program that John Lukancic and the fire department would like to start in reference to any possible disasters that potentially would happen here in the city of Joliet. John gave a presentation in reference to recruiting up to 200 citizens, members of the community here in Joliet, 18 years of age and older, and there's some other criterias, to be on this committee and a team. So when a disaster strikes, prior to any professional emergency personnel that would show up, we would incorporate and dispatch these citizens who would be trained from John Lukancic and others, that could respond prior to, our emergency professionals arriving. So he's going to do a presentation. We're going to try to get him on in the next couple of weeks, Mayor, to give a presentation. So if anybody would have any questions or comments and a little bit more information. The city would be broken up into 5 districts. 2 from each district would be on this committee, along with some at-large council members. So basically, in a nutshell, this is an unbelievable program. I mean, but we'll dig into it a little bit deeper when in a couple weeks, John will give that presentation here at the full council, and that was approved by all 3 of us to bring it to the full council. Any questions on that, ladies?
No, it's basically to give aid immediately, because some people, when disasters hit, there was, takes a while for the first response, like Red Cross to get there, and the first responders are right there, but there's other people that are floundering where other people can step in and help, and then they're right there in the community to help. And the other good part of it, it's going to bring the whole city together, all the districts together. Everybody will get to know each other as volunteers. They'll be trained, and they'll be right there in the beginning before, like, the Red Cross or other entities come in to help. But it's a fantastic thing, and it's already being implemented in some of the other towns. So it's something that's sorely needed, so we can be prepared. I thought it was a great, good program. When he presents it, you'll get more information on it.
Such a great way for residents to be involved. There's only so many spots on boards and committees, but this is a great way to make a big difference in your community.
Yeah, and we talked to John too, and he's going to reach out to a lot of the neighborhood councils because they have their eyes and ears and what's going on in their neighborhoods. So that'd be a good place to start. We also spoke about having nurses, doctors, surgeons, that type of personnel on this committee. But the first training would be a 12-week process, and then I believe after that an 8-week. But he'll touch more on it in a couple weeks when we have the council meeting for more information. Then we went on to an agenda item, the purchase of 2 new vehicles for the Joliet Police Department, tactical unit, not to exceed $110,000. We're looking at buying a couple pickup trucks for the tactical unit, and that should be, if approved, at a later date. These should be on the road by the end of the year or middle of the year. There was no new or old business, not for final action. There was no public comments, and then we adjourned. Any questions, ladies?
No, I think we covered it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, John, for that presentation too. So thank you. That's my report, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay. Public service?
Public service met here at City Hall in the chambers yesterday at 4:30 in the afternoon. On the committee and present was Councilwoman Reardon, Councilman Mudron, and myself. Also representatives of both the public utilities and the Public Works Department were there. There were 30 items, of which we reviewed, but don't get nervous, we're not going to be here long with my summary. I'm going to give you the abridged version. Essentially, the items are end of the year closeouts and beginning of the year new contracts, which are pretty routine. As an example, under contracts, we had 15 items. 9 were chemical purchasing contracts for things that treat the water as well as the sewage water before we, release it, ranging from, I'm not going to go through the whole list, folks, but from, polymers to manganese sulfate, aluminum sulfate. You get the picture. These are used in treating the water to purify it and to treating the sewage. And every year at the beginning of the year, we have to let the contracts. The contracts actually were 2-year contracts, so we opted for all of them for the second year because there was a lot less of an increase than the market would have dictated if we had gone with new numbers. So that was a good thing. And we also dealt with the salt purchase, which was discussed yesterday. And again, that's routine. It's a minimum of 8,000 purchase, no matter what we use, at $67.52 per ton. The contract is for 10,000 and the maximum is 12,000. So it's 20% up or down from the 10,000. So again, it was pretty routine. The biggest item on there, and this is for you, Councilman Guerrero, because you always like us to say this, is the $2.4 million biosolids disposable contract to New Era Spreading. We looked at that. At the end of the sewer process, we have what's politely called sludge. And then that sludge is taken by this company and spread. They have relationships with farmers, spread on the farm fields in the fall after harvest. So apparently there's nutrients in that sludge. And that's all I'm going to say about sludge. So, that was what we had under contracts. We did review all the contracts and we found them all of them to be in order and unanimously voted to send them to the full council with committee approval. Then under change orders, pay estimates, and final payments, we had another 15 items. Again, they were closeouts ranging from the Broadway Street project from West Marion Street to West Jefferson Street to the Wallace Street roadway reconstruction project. These were all closeouts because the jobs were all this is the final step in their completion. So we were balancing what they call balancing supplies, if you will. All of them were credits back, ranging from $30,000 to a couple $100,000 credits back on what was originally to be used because less was used, so that was the good news. We're paying less than we originally anticipated. And as I said, the only thing left to do is there's a 10% withholding on these contracts to make sure that the final details are finished. Other than that, it's pretty routine. We went through those 15 items and we found them all to be in order. And again, it was unanimous approval by the committee to send it forward to the full council with committee recommendation to approve. And then we looked at an application for a drive-through permit for a Starbucks restaurant. That's at 16301 South Boulevard Place. That's out under the new project. That's predominantly in Plainfield, but a slice of it, an eastern slice is in Joliet, out on I-55 and 30 that people have been hearing about. So that, no controversy there. It's a self-contained development, retail development. So all their egress and ingress into their Starbucks would be on private roads. So we looked at it and unanimously approved a recommendation to the full council that we approve it here tonight. And that's all I had. Did I miss anything, folks?
No. Good.
That was the excitement, Mayor.
All right.
Report.
Very exciting, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I show no other reports. Under consent agenda, approval of minutes. It is recommended the minutes of the pre-council meeting held on December 16th, 2024, and the council meeting held on December 17th, 2024, stand approved as recorded. Invoices to be paid. It is recommended this report be approved. Council memo number 1-25, award of contract for the 2025 aluminum sulfate purchase to USA LCO LLC in the amount of $760,370. Council memo number 2-25, award of contract for the 2025 manganese sulfate chemical purchase to Hawkins Incorporated in the amount of $282,030. Council Memo Number 3-25, award of contract for the 2025 bulk polymer purchase to Polydyne Incorporated in the amount of $152,250. Council Memo Number 4-25, award of contract for the 2025 sodium permanganate chemical purchase to Caris Corporation in the amount of $359,382.72. Council Memo Number 5-25, award of contract for the 2025 blended phosphate chemical purchase to Caris Corporation in the amount of $131,040. Council Memo Number 6-25, award of contract for the 2025 bulk sodium hypochlorite purchase to Hawkins Incorporated in the amount of $101,500. Council Memo Number 7-25, award of contract for the 2025 sodium bisulfite purchase to Alexander Chemical in the amount of $52,080. Council Memo Number 8-25, award of the 2025 Public Utilities Department Electrical Maintenance Services contract to Elliott Electric Incorporated in the amount of $278,320. Council Memo Number 9-25, award of contract for the Well 23D emergency repairs to Great Lakes Water Resources Group in the amount of $80,605. Council Memo Number 10-25, award of professional services agreement for pre-treatment program assistance to Baxter and Woodman Incorporated in the amount of $120,000. Council Memo Number 11-25, approve the 2024-2025 bulk salt purchase with the State of Illinois and Morton Salt at the prorated unit price of $67.52 per ton. Council Memo Number 12-25, purchase of anti-icing, de-icing fluids for the 2024-2025 snow removal season. Council Memo Number 13-25, Amendment Number 1 to the Professional Services Agreement for the 2024 Water and Sewer Financial Planning Services to Burns and McDonnell Engineering Company Incorporated in the amount of $21,000. Council Memo Number 14-25, Amendment Number 2 for the Phase 3 Engineering Services for the Joliet, Illinois 53 at Emerald Drive project to Jacob and Hefner Associates Incorporated in the amount of $16,200. Council Memo Number 15-25, Amendment Number 2 for the Professional Services Agreement for the design of Joliet City Square west of Chicago Street from Van Buren Street to Clinton Street to Civil Tech Engineering Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $30,625. Council Memo Number 16-25, change order number 1 for the Parks Avenue, Liberty Street to Elwood Avenue roadway project to PT Farrow Construction Company for a decrease in the amount of $104,468.51 and payment estimate number 3 and final in the amount of $17,957.61. Council Memo Number 17-25, change order number 1 for the Bridge Street, Nicholson Street, North Center Street roadway improvement project to PT Farrow Construction Company in the amount of $18,500. Council Memo Number 18-25, change order number 1 for the 2023 sidewalk curb replacement project contract B to Davis Concrete Construction Company in the amount of $55,761.89 and payment number 3 in the amount of $68,658.02. Council Memo Number 19-25, change order number 1 for the Wallace Street roadway reconstruction project to PT Farrow Construction Company, a decrease in the amount of $31,403.09 and payment estimate number 6 and final in the amount of $35,784.60. Council Memo Number 20-25, change order number 1 for the Forest Park Phase 3 Water Main Improvements Project to M&J Underground Incorporated for a decreased amount of $440,548.72. Council Memo Number 21-25, change order number 1 for the Garnsey Park Phase 5A Water Main Improvements Project to Construction by Camco Incorporated for a decreased amount of $267,010.93. Council Memo Number 22-25, change order number 1 for the Hickory Creek East Water Main Improvements Project to Austin Tyler Construction Incorporated for a decreased amount of $772,015.73. Council Memo Number 23-25, change order number 1 for the Idleside Water Main Improvements Project to Len Cox & Sons Excavating for a decreased amount of $191,173.14. Council Memo Number 24-25. Change Order Number 1 for the Plainfield Road, Theodore Street to Black Road Water Main Improvements Project on behalf of Austin Tyler Construction for adjustments to project completion dates. Council Memo Number 25-25. Change Order Number 1 for the Varnado Park Main Improvements Project on behalf of Steve Spees Construction in the amount of $106,029.50. Council Memo Number 26-25. Change Order Number 1 for the West Park Water Main Improvements Project to Aries Incorporated for a decreased amount of $465,522.93. Council Memo Number 27-25. Change Order Number 3 for the Broadway Street, West Marion Street, West to West Jefferson Street roadway reconstruction project to PT Farrow Construction Company for a decrease in the amount of $17,226.37 and payment estimate number 6 and final in the amount of $53,479.75. Council Memo Number 29-25. Approve payment for the well 27D pump repairs and motor purchase to Lane Christensen Company Incorporated in the amount of $193,109. Council Memo Number 30-25. Approve payment for emergency repairs to the Des Plaines River Crossing Water Main to Aries Incorporated in the amount of $573,670.69. It is recommended Council Memos 1-25 through 27-25 and Council Memos 29-25 and 30-25 be approved. Is there a motion to approve all said consent agenda items?
So second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo Number 28-25. Authorization to fund Predevelopment Loan Draw 10 to Riverwalk Homes, LLC in the amount of $298,366.77. It is recommended Council Memo Number 28-25 be approved.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
No, I just asked the mayor, I asked to pull it. A little confusion on there, it was written that we're required to redevelop, and we are not required to redevelop. Well, if we choose to redevelop as a possibility, that lays out certain restrictions on what we can do with the redevelopment.
This project was back sometime. I think
Oh, way back.
2005 was when we initially filed the condemnation. The initial settlement agreement was fairly complex. Looking into it, there was a resolution passed in 2018 that laid out about 5 options. So I would agree that it didn't require it, but this is the path we've gone on to minimize this as much as possible. So I hope that answered it. It's complicated, but we've passed resolutions authorizing this at this point, starting back in 2018.
Absolutely, there's been some resolutions,
Right.
that have never been unanimous. Some supported, some didn't do it, but I wanted to make clear that it's not a requirement that we do any redevelopment.
I would agree the initial settlement agreement did not require it. It was an option in there, but it did
Right.
not require it.
As an example, and I'm sure you saw Todd in there, one of the requirements was it was a 20-year period that, that we would have to stick by this agreement, which should be, I believe, 2034, and that if we were to tear the whole thing down, that's another way to redevelop, we'd have to rebuild or buy 177 physical units, and we'd have to pay for housing, counseling, help them, pay to help find for the remainder of the units, and pay for moving expenses, it was argued at the time. So, like you said, it was complicated, but not required. It was allowed under these circumstances, if we so choose, and you're right, some people did choose. Thank you, Todd, for doing that research since last night. That was it, Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
No.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Abstain.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
I don't think it's good at this time. I'll have to vote no.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Under agenda item, Council Memo Number 32-25. Award of contract for the 2025 biosolids disposal contract to New Era Spreading Incorporated in the amount of $2,425,240. It is recommended Council Memo Number 32-25 be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? No comments on this one? Thank you.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillen?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is licenses and permit applications. Council Memo Number 34-25, application for a drive-through permit for a Starbucks restaurant at 16301 South Boulevard Place, Unit 101. It is recommended the application for a drive-through permit for a Starbucks restaurant at 1301 South Boulevard Place, Unit 101 be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, questions? Thank you.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillen?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is a public hearing. Council Memo Number 36-25, resolution approving an annexation agreement for 0.43 acres located at the southwest corner of Woodruff Road and McKay Street. This is a public hearing, so comments would be in order at this time. Is there anyone who would like to speak under the public hearing? Okay, seeing none, let the record show the public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to approve Council Memo Number 36-25, resolution approving an annexation agreement for 0.43 acres located at the southwest corner of Woodruff Road and McKay Street?
So moved.
Second. Sorry.
Any questions, comments? Thank you.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillen?
Councilman, you did say that no one was complaining about that.
Correct. There was no objection
With the
from anyone.
people that were living around there. Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that.
Yeah.
I'll vote aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Under ordinances, Council Memo Number 38-25, ordinances associated with the annexation of 0.43 acres located at the southwest corner of Woodruff Road and McKay Street. This includes an ordinance approving the annexation of 0.43 acres located at the southwest corner of Woodruff Road and McKay Street, an ordinance approving the classification of 0.43 acres located at the southwest corner of Woodruff Road and McKay Street to an R2 single-family residential zoning district, an ordinance approving a variation of use to allow a contractor shop, a B3 general business district use, and an R2 single-family residential zoning district located at the southwest corner of Woodruff Road and McKay Street. It is recommended said ordinances be adopted.
So moved.
Motion approved. Second.
Any comments? Thank you.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Quillen?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo Number 39-25, ordinance establishing the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee for the City of Joliet. It is recommended said ordinance be adopted.
I would like to table this until we get the committee all set with citizens on it, because I've been getting lots of phone calls and emails saying this isn't fair, that the citizens weren't made aware of it, and as was stated last night, I agree with Councilwoman Ibarra. We need citizens that live here in the neighborhoods, and by tapping into the neighborhood councils and getting some input from there, I think that we should do that before we put any advisory committee, because these people live here, they know the neighborhoods, they know what's needed, and they can tell us what they would like to see by living here.
Okay, I have something to say as well. This is the time, right? Because I I was a little unsure. I just want to take a moment to clarify my remarks from last night regarding this issue. First and foremost, I want to be clear that I fully support the mayor and the comprehensive plan. Of course, I support you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to express my gratitude to the residents of District 5 who know that I am always working on their behalf and diligently ensuring their voices are heard on this DS. While I respect your position on your authority to make appointments, I would appreciate the opportunity to provide input on matters like this moving forward. My comments last evening were born out of frustration, particularly not knowing about this initiative and feeling that my district wasn't being adequately represented in such an important city project. I also respectfully disagree with the idea of having only one council member on the committee, but I do understand the constraints of violating the Open Meetings Act. Mr. Mayor, if you ever seek my input, you will always get my input. You will always get me picking up the phone. I'm not asking for special treatment for this district, just for equal treatment alongside my colleagues. Lastly, I want to emphasize that I have the utmost respect for those individuals who volunteered their time to serve. My concerns were centered more on the process and not the composition of the committee, rather than on the individuals themselves. So I meant no disrespect to anybody that was picked to serve. Once again, I simply want to be informed and ensure that my district is treated fairly. And lastly, I just want to mention that when a demographic of Joliet is the most harmed, that is the demographic you represent, stick up for, and render aid to. So thank you so much for giving me time to explain that.
Thank you.
Did we have a motion there?
I motion to table, but there's been no second.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded to table.
Any comments?
I mean, Councilwoman, how long you want to table this, or what are we looking to do?
Well, I thought I made that clear. I think that we should give the citizens a chance and go to the neighborhoods and or the council meet, they have the meetings, the neighborhood meetings, and give them a chance to see what they think, who they would like to see on this, and maybe we could get to some citizens that actually live here and know what the issues are in the neighborhoods and where they'd like to see this comprehensive plan go. I mean, these people on the board already are, not all of them live here, but I think we need to get the temperature of the citizens that actually live here. And they want to be heard. And the thing it's mentioned as a citizens advisory board, but a lot of people aren't saying it like that. Our citizens are feeling that they're ignored. And I just think that we need to give them a chance before we make up any comprehensive committee.
I have a comment too. This is simply just to say that we would like to form a committee, correct?
No, it says it's a advisory committee. This is what we're
This
voting on.
is to vote to
There
form
are
a
two
committee. There's
votes.
two
Yeah, that's
votes.
what
One is the
that's
actual
why I asked
committee,
if
and this is
Agenda
just to
item-
say we will be
Yes.
forming a committee.
Yes.
Yeah. So agenda item 3925 establishes the committee, and then the appointments are be on a
That's the
separate vote later on.
That is correct.
That's correct.
Yes.
So would we run into any problems? Is there a time crunch or any sort of time constraint with the ordinance just to establish the committee, or are we in a rush to have that passed
If
tonight?
it's tabled, it has to be to a date certain. So either the 21st is the next date. You could vote on this one and then table the appointments. That's also allowable.
Mr. Mayor. Yeah, my 2 cents, I think we should go ahead with the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee. At least let's get that going. I agree with what Mr. Mayor said yesterday and my colleagues up here and the citizens. But I think you did speak about it, Mayor, that there's going to be 3 more openings. And then we're going to have subcommittees. So we are including others in this process, which is very, very important. But I think we should at least get the comprehensive plan, at least set that ordinance, and if this council decides to, maybe table the appointments, that's a different story. But I don't know. It was just my 2 cents.
Well, it says right here in the letter, I'm proposing to make the following appointments to the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee, okay? And then it says to establish the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee for the city of Joliet. So that's what this memo is. It goes with that. To me, it's all in one.
The appointments are down here,
But
Where? It's not on here.
under appointments.
We waited 60 years for this.
Appointments, there's nothing.
Well,
That's what we've done, the diocese appointments to go with that.
Yeah, but it doesn't
Piece.
match this, okay?
Yes, it does.
So, it doesn't. But I'm not gonna argue with it. I just think the citizens have a right to speak, and they have a right to be on this committee.
So we need to form this committee, and there is a time constraint on this. This is going to be an 18 to 24-month project. It's been in the works for quite some time, and it's been worked hard. And I'd really like to see us move forward with this plan. We can then talk about the makeup of and the reasons that who we brought on. And as I said last night, there are still 3 spots available, and this is a moving group. But I want to do this. I want to get this comprehensive plan going. So let's take number 1 and talk about why do we want to table an opportunity to move the city to the future, first of all. So I would prefer we don't table this. I'd prefer that we continue to move forward with the opportunity to get this comprehensive plan off the ground. So that's my thoughts on that. And then we'll talk about, in the next decision, who and why we've appointed some people or requested some people, and we can go to the next vote on that. That would be my request.
Well, Mayor, just for legality purposes, okay? The council agenda says ordinance establishing the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee for the city of Joliet, period. Then we have a memo added that these are my appointments. It doesn't have those appointments on the scheduled council meeting, and that's what I'm talking about.
it does on this meeting. If you look on this.
You know, I said it last night, and I'm going to say it again. If you want me to be the mayor of the city, let's all work together. I'm not going to take offense to the people that we put on here, and I have talked to some other folks that we're going to bring on. I heard last night, and I understand. And there are people that are going to be from the neighborhood, so please, trust me. If you don't trust me, I don't know why I'm sitting here. I've done nothing but the right things for this community, and I would do nothing but the right thing for the citizens of the city, as I am one. So I agree with you, Jan, that maybe this isn't exactly who you'd want, but there's some really qualified people that don't live in the city, but they have an overview of the community. And let's do this. Dustin, can you give us an idea of what these members are going to do and how they're going to integrate in the city, please?
Sure. So the Citizens Advisory Committee for the Comprehensive Plan has a few roles, and they're discrete, for the benefit of the public. The Comprehensive Plan, as the Councilor Clement and Mayor Darcy mentioned, is an 18 to 24 month long process. And this advisory committee is about this big of a slice of a pie this big. One of the key components of a successful comprehensive plan is robust and constant communication with the community that they're serving. So there may be a misunderstanding that this advisory committee is the voice that speaks on behalf of the community. And I would understand from a perspective that had that conclusion that this is a huge, huge deal, because you might feel like your voice might not be adequately represented. But this advisory committee is almost a cheering section for the comprehensive plan. What they're going to do is they're going to encourage community members to participate in that in the engagement activities that will be planned throughout this 18 to 24 month process. There's so much that the city staff can do. There's so much that the council members can do. And as a force multiplier to that engagement with the community, this advisory committee will take part in those actions to drive out additional people to provide their feedback for what this plan will be comprised of. They will assist with the working groups and subcommittees on specific topics, because there are specific topics that cause a little bit of friction. Those items of friction will be identified through public engagement, not only with interviews with the council, the mayor, and the advisory committee, but also from feedback that we get from residents. They'll attend the monthly meetings. They'll provide some feedback for draft deliverables. So throughout the process, there'll be certain toll gate deliverables that the council and this advisory committee will see. They'll see that first draft and say, hey, no, this cake's not baked yet. You've missed this. This is what we hear. This is what the residents are saying. You need to go back, sharpen your pencil, talk to some more people, bring that back, and so on and so forth. But the raw materials, the information, and the outcomes that will be driven from the ground up, not from the top down.
You know, Mayor, with all due respect here, I've been talking about communication for months, and I know you get upset about that. However, this was a total blindside. If you don't read your iPad all day long, when that memo came out, it was at 2:30 on Friday afternoon, okay? I wake up on Saturday morning to the Herald News talking about this comprehensive plan with all these people in place that you're going to appoint. So my first thought is, okay, you are the mayor and you have a right to do this, but it would have been nice had you consulted the council. Now, I don't know if you counseled anybody, but that's what I'm saying.
I apologized last night. I was on vacation that week, and you know what, this kind of got around me, so I
okay.
do apologize.
All right, then.
I've worked really
We shouldn't be
hard.
arguing about it. We
I'm
should
not
be
arguing.
trying to come to a conclusion, because this is what happened. This is how, again, this is how something went down because of lack of communication. That's all I'm asking for.
Mayor? Dustin, for clarification, what exactly, I think this is where the confusion is coming in. Myself, I'm confused. This committee of folks, some of which aren't citizens of Joliet on a citizens committee, what are they going to be advising about?
So they will be advising on making recommendations based on the feedback that residents provide, right? So residents could provide a whole universe of feedback. Some of it may be conflicting or mutually exclusive, right? There are over 150,000 people in the city of Joliet, and we hope that we robustly engage with all those people. There's not going to be a uniform sense of what is and what is not, right? So this is a sounding board to say, this is, the consultant will say, this is what we're hearing. What is the actual truth, and what direction should we go, right? So it's advice, and it's not the final word. It's not a quasi-judicial entity. It's like they're providing advice amongst other voices, right? So they'll attend the meetings over the course of this to provide direction to the project team and input on drafted deliverables that I mentioned, right? They'll lead those working groups, co-lead with staff and the consultants, so they'll be a part of those working groups in the community on specific topic areas to be determined. Probably around the summer is when staff will bring that to the attention of the council and administration to let them know that those working groups are proposed to be established. They're going to encourage members to participate in the plan because there will be many opportunities for public engagement, both in person and on site. So we want to drive people to those events and make sure they know about them, because that is probably the most essential component of this. Again, reviewing draft deliverables and maybe advising additional draft deliverables. So it could be the public engagement strategy, the existing conditions report, vision, goals, objectives, things like that, right? And finally, once that whole process is done, there will be additional work of adopting this document, of living in this document, and these folks will be expected to be champions of the work that the residents and stakeholders of the city of Joliet have poured into this.
Okay, and I think where the confusion is, the meatiest part for most people of a comprehensive plan, not the only part, but the meatiest part is actually the final analysis is a map. of your boundaries and how you want to utilize open land, okay? So I think people are thinking that this advisory committee, which folks is only an advisory committee, final decision is made by these 9 individuals up here, but this advisory committee is going to be coming up with an advised map and other components to the comprehensive plan. Sounds like you're saying they're going to facilitate interface or communication with the public. Isn't that what we're paying the consultant to do?
Certainly, and the consultant could do a better job if more people are involved. And as I said, you know, staff, you've got a great staff. I've got a great staff. I'm very proud of the work we do. I've never seen a council in a municipality as active as the council here in Joliet is, and you can cover a lot of ground. We can cover even more ground if we engage people who are willing to walk with us and get more people to be involved in this. So no, it would not replace any of the technical deep analysis or work that the consultant's doing. It is a force multiplier to drive people to participate in this activity.
Would I be simplifying it too much to say we are looking to have a multiple of workshops with the community involvement at various locations so that they can have their voices heard by all?
That is 100% accurate, yes.
And how'd you know about the workshops?
I just made it up in my head. Jan, I have to assume that's what we're going to do.
Well, you can't assume either.
Well, I asked.
So it's a fairly complex process. And if each one of these 15 individuals have multiple people working with them, we could have a couple hundred people involved in this minimum. And I've never done it on a citywide basis. I've done it in other opportunities similar. So I know how we're going to need a lot of help. And I always kind of kid around and said, you know, if the federal government knew how to tax volunteer hours, they'd probably be out of hock right now. But in this case, I don't want everybody to think that these are the people that are going to draw the architecture of the future of the city of Joliet. It is everyone that's in this room that wants to participate. The folks that are here have certain skill sets and certain reach that we talked about last night. And there are 3 people that don't live in the city of Joliet that are on this group. One of them being Nora Grunberg. She is, again, she's the Director Intergovernmental Affairs for Three Rivers Realty Association, which is 350 realtors in Joliet. Her office is in Joliet. Someone that you want part of the comprehensive plan would be realtors. I mean, their job is to market housing, which is, we know, in great demand in our community. So this is a 62 some odd square mile. It's actually long, not exactly square. We have a lot of open canvas left. We have one chance to do it right. We haven't, I don't agree with some of the things we've done in the last many years with some of the development that we've done. And we really have to have more architecture for what we want the city to look like. You know, main thing is quality of life, safety. The other big thing that I want to try and address is truck traffic. I don't think anybody realized when we built Centerpoint years ago that I call it the beehive. The bees are all coming through our downtown because they have the right to. But how do we change that? How do we get our downtown back? How do we get our community back? How does the east side feel about that Route 53 being clogged up? These are things that I heard when I ran for mayor. I heard we don't have hope anymore. We're bringing hope back. So if you'll trust us, if you'll trust me that I'm trying to steer the ship in the right direction, I will do no harm. I will help the city. I'll do everything I can to make sure that when our grandkids are living here, that this is a hell of a community to live in like it is now. But we only have one chance. There's an old saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. It's our chance to replant the trees. And we've got more ground to grow into. We're 62 square miles with the opportunity to grow a little bit more. And we've got enough water to bring in 400,000 residents. But the quality of life is huge to us. We have to make sure that that's the focus of what we do. We've got a lot of legacy neighborhoods right now that are struggling. We really need to take a look at where we started and where we're going. We have a study called Urban 3 that's going to tell us what in our community is dragging us down and what's building us up. And so we know where we're at right now. We don't know our next if we don't know our now. You know, we've got zoning, we've got annexation agreements that none of us even know about. There's all kinds of light industrial laid all over this community. And are they in the best spots? We built warehouses next to forest preserves. Wouldn't that have been better for housing? These are the things we're trying to correct. And so the people that are in here are strategically in here because of the reach they have. I talked about Nora and her ability to get with all the realtors and developers. Those are the people who are going to help us build to the future. Jen Howard. She's head of the Joliet Region Chamber of Commerce. That is, I believe, around 1,000 small businesses in our community. She can reach to them. When I take a look at Doug Pryor, President and CEO of the Will County Center of Economic Development, they have their finger on the pulse of a lot of the industrial buildings that are going on around here. And who better than he and his reach to help us figure out how is the best way to continue this industrial growth that sometimes we don't have control of. The federal government controls the railroads, and here we are with all these doggone trucks coming in. We have to figure out where the future is going to lay with this stuff. So those three folks that do not live in Joliet proper have a lot to say and a lot to do with the city proper. And we are in conversation with other folks that are ground floor people that are part of the great community efforts that we have. So if you'll trust me, we'll get this right. And that's all I got to say. These people were strategically picked. I know the diversity of the community is important to all of us, and we're looking at that too. So this is a moving target, you know, and maybe not everybody's going to stay on the whole time, but we need good leadership to bring in. The volunteers are going to help us. We have a lot of passion in this community. We need to tap into the passion. I wish I could have 150 people on this organization, but the people that do this professionally, Lamar Johnson, they want to design it this way so that then we can all reach more and more people and bring those thoughts and comments back. So that's where we got to this point. My apologies that this came out without my discussion to the council as much as I could. I thought this job as mayor was going to be a part-time job. I got to tell you, I say 20 hours a week. It's Monday and Tuesday, and then I still work the rest of the week. I'm doing the best I can. That's what I'm going to say. I don't have a handbook for being a mayor. I've developed a lot of things in the town myself. I came from nothing, and by the grace of God, I've got a few things. So I would hope that everybody would trust me. That's all I'm going to say. I think that's goes without saying. I would do nothing but the right thing for the city. So we have a motion and a second to table this.
Mayor, if I could, point of clarification, I think Mr. Lindsay already said it, but just to confirm with the clerk for the agenda as it is written, Council Memo 3925 is the ordinance establishing the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee for the City of Joliet.
Yes.
And at the very end of tonight's agenda, under appointments, as a separate vote, would be appointments to the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee.
Correct.
So I think Mr. Lindsay said earlier that it would be possible for us to go ahead and move to approve Memo 3925, which would just be the ordinance establishing the committee. Right. That committee would sit effectively empty for the time being, should we choose to then table the appointments. It would be my suggestion. I understand the sort of the sense of urgency. I would not want to table this for very long. I do think there's some discussion to be had. I think it might be worthwhile to table it no later than the following council meeting, our second meeting in January. I think that would give us some time to have conversations about the 3 remaining spots for this committee. I would also like to see perhaps a non-binding, just preliminary list of what the additional subcommittees or breakout groups could entail. I think having that list to say, well, yes, we're going to have this central committee, but in addition to that, we're going to have specific groups for, 3 or 4 different topics, areas of interest. Again, perhaps non-binding, where we don't necessarily have to commit to those right now, but just as a consideration of what is possible. And for members of the community who would want to be involved, who, because there are limited spaces, 15 spots on this committee, anybody who has expressed interest in wanting to be involved could perhaps then be appointed to some of those subcommittees. I think that would quell some of the concerns that members have had of different areas of the city or different sectors not being recognized or not being addressed, to say that this is not the end-all be-all, that there will be opportunities for involvement further on, and to sort of create that short list for our next meeting to say this is what's possible. If there's interest in having a committee focused on education, a committee focused on housing, that is something that we can do, that is something that we can create, and perhaps that would be an avenue or an opportunity for other folks to be involved. So I would like to move forward with at least passing the ordinance just to establish the committee, and if there's hesitations on the appointments as a separate vote, well, that would be exactly that, a separate vote.
Mayor?
Sure.
I think, the mayor made a good point. This will be an 18-month, 24 months, could take longer. This is something that's going to have repercussions for 40 or 50 years. A quality comprehensive plan should be revisited at least every 5 years and tweaked, updated, and looked at. I don't know if anybody up here caught it, what Dustin did, but he gave us a huge compliment. He essentially said, I've never seen a council that's not a rubber stamp. That's what you said to us when you said you're so engaged that in other communities they're not that engaged. We are. We do the hard work from the mayor to my left, all the council members there, and all the council members here. I don't see slowing it down if there is any confusion, questions, dissent, disagreement. Let's do it right, so everybody's on the same page. Could we bring the consultant forward? One thing I don't think we've ever done is have a consultant in a public way give an outline of what, as our consultant, what they're going to help us accomplish or what they need from us, and then move forward after that. That's it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Let's go ahead and vote the table or no table.
Okay. This is to table the ordinance establishing the committee.
This is just the committee now without the appointments? Is that what we're doing?
This is just,
They're two different. The one is establishing, and that is per our city code at 2260, which the first one pretty much mirrors our city code of what's required. The second one is the actual appointments. They're two different.
So the table, all right, so I was tabling the appointments, not the comprehensive plan, as long as you're gonna separate this, because it just said appointments in the agenda here with nothing. And then this popped up with who these people were yesterday. So I'm not seeing the appointments, it's just the comprehensive plan. So then you're pushing this all together, you're telling me I'm wrong. I don't believe that I'm wrong, because it's not written in here. But I don't want to table the plan itself, I want to table the appointments.
So the motion is on the floor. How
With
do we
that said,
legally withdraw?
I'll remove my second.
Okay.
So
So it's legal?
So,
I'm taking the motion as withdrawn.
I'm going to withdraw my table.
Okay.
And
We have another motion?
you have to,
And
Borough has to withdraw.
I will make a motion to approve Council Memo 39-25, ordinance establishing the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee for the City of Joliet.
No,
Second.
Wait, not without appointments, just the advisory committee, without appointments.
The ordinance to establish the.
Just wanna
the-
be clear.
The ordinance is to establish the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee as it is, with appointments being a separate vote for later tonight.
Second.
Any other comments? Thank you.
Just one thing, if you don't mind, Mayor. Our attorney, Todd Lindsay, had said it's pretty much like all the other committee. It's not. It doesn't restrict it to citizens, residents of Joliet. That's where I think some of the hang-up came, that we're expanding beyond members of this committee. Now, these same experts, if that's what in fact they are, this is just my opinion, just so people know where I stand, completely in support of having a citizens advisory committee. We started to do that before COVID, and then when we came out of COVID, the original consultant we had said we're no longer doing comprehensive plans. I think some of you up here remember that. It kind of collapsed on itself. So yes, I supported a citizens advisory then for citizens only, and I support one now. Anybody who's not a citizen and is considered an expert can be asked by the citizens advisory to serve the committee. They can advise the citizens on the committee. So I mean, I see it multi-layered. That's where I'm at. So it's not exactly like the rest of our committees because it doesn't require a residency.
If I may clarify, what I was basically saying is 2-260 is our city code on advisory bodies, and it says no person shall be seated on an advisory body unless that person is an actual resident of the city or has other sufficient educational, business, or philanthropic ties to the city. The way we wrote this ordinance establishing the comprehensive plan mirrors that language in our city code.
And if I may, in this comprehensive plan ordinance, it says, appointment and terms. Members shall be appointed by the mayor with the advice and consent of the city council for a term of 2 years as provided in section 260, as you just quoted. Members shall serve until their successors are duly seated or until the committee is dissolved. This doesn't have anything in here about appointments. But at the very end, it says appointment, but it's blank. And usually on our agenda sheets, it has appointment, Mayor Darcy wants to, John Doe to the Zoning Board of Appeals, but that's not on here.
You got this extra one.
Yes, I have that one, but it's not on here, okay? It doesn't say, see that. It's not on here. That is my issue. I have no problem with the comprehensive plan. We've needed it for a very, very, very long time. There is no doubt at all. And perhaps the name of the comprehensive plan that was in the paper is Citizens Review Committee. That's what started the whole thing, the name. Maybe citizens should have been left out of there and then come to that conclusion later.
On our agenda tonight, the word citizen is taken out.
That's what I said. I don't want to,
Yeah. It's taken
I
out.
want to vote on the comprehensive plan, yes.
Okay.
The advisory committee will come later.
All right,
But
perfect.
if that'll work, in 2 weeks, we can do it.
Well, right now, we're voting on this issue, right?
Yes.
So we're not voting to table it, that's been pulled. We've got a first and a second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve
Yes.
the ordinance establishing the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee for the city of Joliet.
Okay.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilman Quillman.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Mayor, may I make a comment? Todd, thank you for the clarification. I did not look into that myself, that we actually have an ordinance. Do you know when that ordinance was passed that allows for all committees?
I want to say 2020, but I can't tell you for
All
sure.
right, so obviously I voted on that and then I got past me. That's something maybe, not tonight, we need to look at down the road. You know, if you're gonna have a citizens committee, it should be citizens. But thank you for pointing out that it's following the existing ordinance. I was not aware of that, so there you have it.
Thank you.
Council memo number 40-25, ordinance approving a special use permit to allow an automotive repair business located at 206 South Boulder Avenue. It is recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Question, Mayor? What district is that?
5. Sorry, I'm not the mayor.
No, that's okay. Are you
It's
good?
5. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council memo number 41-24, ordinance abating the taxes heretofore levied for the year 2024 to pay debt service on $3,665,000 general obligation bonds, Series 2020A, and $93,595,000 general obligation bonds, Series 2022 of the City of Joliet, Will and Kendall Counties, Illinois. It is recommended said ordinance be adopted.
Mayor, a quick request if you don't mind. Either Todd or Kevin, could you explain for everybody what that means?
So when these bonds were issued, they're general obligation bonds, which means that there is a tax levied against all properties upon issuance. This ordinance would remove that tax since we use fuel tax funds and the TIF funds to pay the bond payments.
Okay. So I just want to let people know this is not an additional tax. This is actually a shell game of how it's being paid.
It's actually removing a tax. from the
Right.
TIF, yes.
Because it's being paid by a different source of revenue.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? Any other questions? Thank you.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudron?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy?
Aye.
Motion carried. Council memo number 42-25, ordinance approving a $3,500,000 loan agreement with the Joliet Public Library. It is recommended said ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments?
Yes, I have a comment.
Okay.
This money is coming out of our reserves. We have $81 million in our reserves, and that's only enough for operations for 4 months. We have a lot of expenses coming up with this new water going in place. And it's a loan of $3.5 million for 20 years. And it was told to us that we'd get a better return on our money, or if we put it in the bank or whatever, it'd be the same. However, a 20-year T-bond, Treasury bond, is at 4.83%. And the library has the choice to reduce that loan payment, or not the payment, but they can refinance at one time at a lower rate at any time. So we'd be losing percentages, whereas we could have it in a T-bond and it would last for 20 years at that 4.83%. But by losing that and lending that $3.5 million to the library, we'd lose some money, and we're putting our reserves in risk. The other part of this is it's for 20 years. The library is I get the library, okay? Everybody loves the library. However, there's some issues out there right now. There's not enough parking. And in 20 years, what's going to happen? You're going to have to do it again in 15 years or 10 years. So at this point, I cannot see putting our taxpayers at risk at this time. This is their money. And I commend the library the last time when we loaned them the $6 million. However, that was guaranteed money because they were getting money from the state. It was a grant. So that's why that was paid off so quickly. There's no grant money for here except $3,600,000, $3,600 some dollars, she told me yesterday. It's nowhere near the $3.5 million. So I'm sorry, but I'm looking at our money and things are tight with everything going on down here. We have roads that needs to be fixed, sidewalks. So I just can't vote for this. I can't support it at this time. Maybe next year things will be better, but I think with the economy the way it is, and we don't know what's going to happen. So,
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Joe.
You don't, Jen?
yes.
Yeah. I just want to be crystal clear. I support the library. My kids went to the library. School kids go to the library. I agree with most of what Jan said. I cannot support this. I don't think this is the precedent that we need to set. I don't think we should be lending money to anybody. Things are in the tank. The economy's not the greatest. We could use that 3.5 to stay in the reserves or to pave roads, sidewalks, things, if we have a crisis. I just don't think we should be going down this road. And again, I want to be crystal clear. I support the library, but I just don't think this is the best use of $3.5 million. Those are my comments.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I disagree with the two of them. I support this project entirely. I think the library has already proven themselves with the Burnham project and how well they did. I don't know who in this room has had an opportunity to see the changes that were made there, the additions that were made for youth and on up to seniors and a number of different reading rooms. It's a little contradictory to say that there's no parking left at the Black Road facility and we're not going to improve it. Yes, in another 20 years. We got to improve our houses every 20 years. I think Mr. Singh had mentioned before that the issue in repayment is really not an issue because the levy comes through us. And we give the money to the library. If there would be an issue, they just would not get the money and it would come back to us. So I see no reason why we wouldn't give them the $3.5 million.
Still taxpayer money, you're raising the levy, that's taxpayer money.
But you can't you can't put the money in reserve, Jan, and also put it in roads. It only can go one place.
I'm not
It
saying,
can't go-
but, Pat, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, we have $81 million. If there's some disaster that comes along, we're gonna need that money. We only have 4 months for operations with that money. That's all I'm saying. And the library is great downtown, and it's wonderful, and it's paid off. It's paid off. It's
Mr. Mayor,
beautiful.
That would be your opinion versus my opinion.
Oh,
That's why we'll
okay.
take it to a vote here soon.
Just one more comment. We
That's
talk
why-
about, we talk about the $700 million unfunded liability. We have union contracts coming up. I mean, these are, I just don't see that, it's not a critical thing right now. A critical makeover of a library, I don't believe is in order at this time.
Can I say one thing when he's done, please?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. There is no more important building outside of the city hall in the city, and you might be out of touch if you think it's not important that residents go there every day. I've been going there since I was a little kid. Residents also seek, warmth there when it's cold. It's an emergency shelter. There's so many different things. Everyone is not so privileged to have internet in their house. Everyone is not so privileged to have a printer that they can push a button and print. So these are a lot of the reasons beyond books why people use this library, and I support this project 100%. We're not giving them anything. It's coming back to us, and it's coming back to us also because the residents are using it and enjoying it and having the privilege to push a button and print something there. Not everybody has that privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor? Kevin, on a 20-year bond, okay? When you purchase a 20-year bond, at what point can you cash it in or, sell it, cash it in without penalty?
Well, on a bond, my belief, you have to sell it in the secondary market.
Right.
Yeah, so you could do that at any point. The value of that bond, as I was talking to one other council member, it's based on the interest rate at the time you're looking to sell it. So as an example, as I mentioned yesterday, it was 4.8 some percent. If we go to sell it and interest rates are higher, we would have to take less money than the principal balance because someone's going to expect a higher interest rate, so say 5%. So we could sell it at any time, but how much we would get for it would be based at what the interest rates are. If interest rates are lower, we could actually get more than $3.5 million for this bond because it's paying at 4.8%.
So in an emergency, we can liquidate it,
We can, yes.
whereas the other loan we're locked in for 20 years.
Well, we could sell this on the open market if we wanted to. It's a marketable security. We had that question at Finance Committee that I verified with our financial advisor that yes, we would if we did this loan and things went south, we could take this, that's called paper, and hit the secondary market and get an investor. Bondholders would actually buy this from the city and pay us the principal balance of the bond. The balance would be based on what interest rates are at the time. As I mentioned, if interest rates fall, we would actually receive more money than the principal, could sell it for more money than the principal balance. If interest rates are higher than the 4, we would actually have to take a little bit less.
And the person buying the bond from the loan would have to, in their mind, weigh the liquidity of the library.
Correct.
Whereas a government bond is guaranteed.
Correct. But this bond, keep in mind, it's not formally a GO like we did the tax because there's no levy being filed associated with it. There is a lien placed on their property taxes as a result of this, just like a car. So they could go in, if they wanted to, foreclose on that lien if they're not getting paid.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other comments?
One more comment. We're not getting rid of the library. The library is important. All I is asking is let's wait a year, see what happens with the economy, and then move forward. The library is always going to be there, Susanna. It's not going anywhere.
All right, let's take the vote.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
No.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman.
No.
Councilman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
No.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo Number 43-25. Ordinances associated with the preliminary planned unit development of Vista Ridge subdivision. This includes an ordinance approving a preliminary plan unit development of Vista Ridge subdivision, an ordinance approving zoning reclassification of part of 8301 Caton Farm Road from an R1B single-family residential zoning district and an R4 low-density multifamily residential zoning district to an R2 single-family residential zoning district, and from an R1B single-family residential zoning district to an R4 low-density multifamily residential zoning district. It is recommended said ordinances be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
I have a question. Is the petitioner here, Mayor? I know yesterday you told us it would be roughly between 1,400 square feet on the smaller end to 2,500 square feet.
Yes, sir.
Okay. 1,400, I'm assuming, is a ranch?
Is a ranch, correct.
Okay. What is the pricing that you're planning?
We're anticipating the pricing being very similar to what it is now in Deer Crossing, which is approximately $400,000.
For the 2,500 square foot?
That's correct.
And how much for the 14?
Probably $375.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I did see the pictures, Councilwoman showed them to me. They're really nice-looking houses.
Thank you.
Thank you. All set.
Thank you.
And I will be clear, myself and the mayor spoke with the school. We did take into consideration the school district, and the school district had some questions, and I think we answered them appropriately, and I think they're fine with it now. So that's District 202, Plainfield.
Okay. It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried. Council Memo Number 44-25, ordinance authorizing the termination of the lease agreement between the City of Joliet and Migraine Brewing Company, LLC. It is recommended that ordinance be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Mayor. Todd, could you give us an explanation? I don't want this to be Groundhog's Day again, but if you can repeat what we did
actually-
yesterday.
Actually, if you may, we were gonna have Dustin explain the whole thing. The economic development guy. And then Todd will jump in, they talk together, so.
I don't know. I think you're getting the Temu version of Todd.
All right, what's between the two?
But I'll give it a whirl. I'll give it a whirl for you. So originally, the tenant and the City of Joliet entered into an agreement. That tenant invested $2.5 million of improvements to that building that the city owns and continues to own. Things did not work out, and the city will receive that $2.5 million improvement to its facility for the cost of $250,000. The former tenant is happy. The city is happy. We had the contents of that facility appraised. It is in excess of the $250,000. So I think that this is, mathematically anyway, a pretty solid transaction for the former tenant to move forward and be successful in whatever they choose to do next, and for the city to pivot and turn that into an active and attractive space for the benefit of the community.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dustin.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay. It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
No.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next are appointments. The mayor is recommending Quinn Adamowski be reappointed to the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Guerrero?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra?
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carried. The mayor is recommending the following appointments to the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee: Elaine Bottomley, Cesar Cardenas, Nora Gruenberg, Jen Howard, Wendell Martin, Hugh O'Hara, Doug Pryor, Steve Randich, J.D. Ross, Teresa Rouse, Diana Viveros, and Damon Zudanich. Is there a motion to approve?
Excuse me, I thought we were going to pull that.
We didn't pull it, Jan.
So
Okay,
moved.
then.
Second.
Sorry, citizens, I tried.
We have a motion and second. Any comments or questions?
I'd like to comment. So I think in the discussion regarding these appointments, the word diversity has been brought up several times now. Councilman Clement, Councilwoman Ibarra will recall from our presentations at the Diversity and Community Relations Committee that the word diversity takes on different angles, and it's not just a matter of, say, ethnic diversity. It's not just a matter of having a balance of men and women. That diversity takes many dimensions and operates on different axes. And so what I would like to see here with any of the remaining appointments to the committee would be a diversity in background, in professional and lived experience. I do think that the appointments are representative of sort of members of the business class, people who are related in some way to a business or commerce organization. And so with any remaining appointments, I would like to see some representation. There's a few here, individuals with a background in education, which I think is a valuable contribution. I would like to see perhaps members of our community who work in the healthcare field, perhaps someone in social work. So it's not just a matter of having, again, we've checked our boxes to say we've got enough members from any one ethnic background. It's again about having that diversity in professional background, in different lived experiences, so that we're having that mix of perspectives and experiences. I think that having a little bit of time to have that conversation about who might round out those remaining appointments would give us some time to kind of respond to some of the concerns that have been brought up by the community. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I think I would like to see at least a preliminary list of what some of the focus groups or subcommittees might consist of, so that, again, those who feel that they might have been passed over or didn't have the opportunity to join this particular committee can be assured that there will still be an opportunity for you to participate and respond in some other capacity. So with that, I mean, I would not be opposed to tabling this purely for the next 2 weeks until we come back at our next meeting. But I do believe there has already been a motion and a second made.
A table's appropriate at any time.
Well, then, in that case,
I'll second it.
I would make a motion to table until the following council meeting, which would be January
21st.
January 21st.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second to table these appointments to the January 21st council meeting.
I just want to say this. There's been a lot of work put in to the current members of this, and there are people that we're talking to in labor and other places. I understand diversity as much as anybody, and these will be the leaders of the groups that come together to take our city to the future. So I thought I did a pretty good job last night of explaining the reason why each one of these people are involved in this. So I am disappointed at the lack of trust in my fellow council members, but I understand that I'm 1 of 9. So it is a mayoral appointment, and you have the right to disagree with me, and so I'll disagree with the table, but that's just my comment. Anybody have another comment? We'll go ahead and roll the vote.
So are we voting on the
Table.
first motion or the tabled motion?
Table.
The
Table overrides, right, Jan?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so we are voting on the motion to table these appointments to the January 1st council meeting.
21st.
January 21st council meeting.
Mhm.
Councilwoman Quillman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Reardon.
No.
Councilman Cardenas.
No.
Councilman Clement.
No.
Councilman Guerrero.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
No.
Councilman Mudrin.
No.
Mayor Darcy.
No.
So that motion fails. Okay.
There's another motion?
Motion.
A motion to approve.
Yes.
Okay. So it's, do we have a motion second to approve?
The motion to table failed, so you should move on to the next, to the original one.
Do we have a motion second to approve? Yeah, okay.
We did have a motion and a second to approve.
To approve the appointments.
There was one already.
There
Oh,
was.
okay,
Yeah.
that's what I
Already
thought.
was.
There was a motion and a second to approve the appointments.
Yes.
Okay. It's my motion and seconded to approve. Councilwoman Quillman.
No.
Councilwoman Reardon.
Aye.
Councilman Cardenas.
Aye.
Councilman Clement.
Yeah, just real quick, maybe the rollout could have been a lot better. I'm hearing what everybody's saying here. I'm glad to hear we're gonna have 3 more positions that is gonna be added to this list, and then there's gonna be subcommittee, so I'm okay with that. I still would like to see somebody from local labor, even in a subcommittee or somewhere in between. But I will support it, so I vote aye.
Thank you.
Councilman Guerrero.
Sure, I'll just briefly reiterate, definitely, by the time we reconvene at our next meeting in January, again, I think it would be helpful to have a short list, a preliminary list of ideas of what those subcommittees might be. So again, that anybody who feels that they've been passed over or that there isn't adequate representation has that opportunity to still participate. Again, they could be non-binding. We're not necessarily committed to what those subcommittees might be. But again, just to make it clear that we are going to make that effort to make sure that everybody is included, at least in some capacity. So in the hopes that is the case, I will vote aye.
Thank you.
Councilman Hug.
I wish the table had gone through. Thank you, Councilman Guerrero. Because like I asked earlier of Dustin, maybe we have a presentation from our consultant. There's still some unanswered questions, in my opinion. We haven't even, I would assume the scope of a comprehensive plan is not a cookie cutter 100%. From one community to the next, you will set the parameters of what your comprehensive plan will comprehensively involve. We haven't even established that yet as a council, so I'll have to vote no.
Councilwoman Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin.
Aye.
Mayor Darcy.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank
Okay, we are moving on to the city manager's report. The city manager could not be here this evening, unfortunately, due to illness, but she would still like to share some updates with all of you, so I will be giving her a report this evening. So we will start with an update on downtown construction. As of the week of December 16th, the following work has been completed. The permanent sidewalks at Clinton and Chicago have been backfilled and opened for pedestrian use. The contractor worked to complete as much work as possible ahead of the holiday break. Disturbed pavement areas on Clinton have been restored in preparation for the winter season. ComEd crews will continue with efforts to reconstruct their underground vaults on Chicago Street, south of Van Buren and north of Clinton. Work will start up mid-January constructing underground elements within the city square. The Rialto trailers and tent have been removed on Van Buren Street, and we are working on opening that block of Van Buren, the block of Chicago between Van Buren and Clinton with no ComEd conflicts, and Clinton from Ottawa to Scott Street to improve circulation downtown as much as possible. As you all know, a water main broke the morning of Thursday, December 26th, shutting down traffic and flooding an electrical vault, affecting some of our operations here in City Hall. Crews worked late into the night to get the situation repaired, so we were able to reopen City Hall to the public the very next day. On behalf of the city manager, she would like to thank staff in multiple departments for working together to keep operations going and enable us to reopen on Friday. Speaking of preparing for emergencies, our Office of Emergency and Disaster Management is hosting a series of quarterly workshops for members of the community to help prepare for adverse events. The first workshop will be on Wednesday, January 8th, 2025, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and again from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Joliet Public Library, Ottawa Street Branch, located at 150 North Ottawa Street in the McGuire Room 109. The next workshop is Wednesday, January 13th, 2025, at the Joliet Public Library, Black Road Branch, Meeting Room E at 3395 Black Road. And the final workshop is Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, at the Joliet Fire Department, Station 10, Training Community Room, 1599 John D. Page Drive. The 2-hour workshops are free and require no prior registration to attend. Topics covered in January's workshops will include services provided by the City of Joliet Office of Emergency and Disaster Management, understanding the nature of emergencies, disasters, and catastrophic events, personal disaster preparedness, home safety, building an emergency kit, Part 1, winter weather preparedness. John Lukanzik, Director of the City of Joliet Office of Emergency and Disaster Management, a certified associate emergency manager, and an Illinois professional emergency manager will present at the event. For more information, please call 815-724-3563 or email emergencymanagement@joliet.gov. Finally, we want to remind everyone that City Hall will be closed on Monday, January 20th in honor of Martin Luther King Day. We will not have a pre-council meeting that day, but we will have our regular council meeting on Tuesday, January 21st. That will be all for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have public comments. Is there anyone who would like to address the council this evening? Okay.
I wasn't going to Betty Washington, but as I was listening to the comprehensive plan, it took me back to the quality of life plan from 2007, which I was a part of, and I believe Jan was as well. And there were 8 or 9 members of the community that worked with 4 agencies, consultants that came in, and we did workshops, listening sessions all over the city of Joliet. And that plan is still on the website. Unfortunately, we did not have the expertise to carry through and work the plan. You got to be able to work the plan, which calls for experts. And I understand the need for community involvement. That was the work sessions that we held, but we didn't have a realtor. We didn't have the Chamber of Commerce and other expertise areas. So therefore, there was a Community Development Corporation that was established that failed miserably because there was no expertise. So I just say that to say to Mayor Darcy, expertise is needed to make any plan go through, and I would hope that this comprehensive plan would not sit idle as the quality of life plan has since 2007. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a positive note that I wanted to say to bring everybody back in. Recently, a young lady was complaining about a store on Richard Street. This is just to tell you how great our city is. So we reached out, we went to that store, we opened up a dialogue. I want to first just tell you the positive part. I reached out to that owner, his name is Mr. Muhammad. I had a conversation with him. And in that conversation, we were able to talk about what happened. We were able to take the young lady who had experience with him. See, I believe that if we have communication, we can solve a lot of problems. And this is one that could have escalated bigger than life. And I want to say thank you. I think it was the Black Panthers, Doug, all of us went there. We didn't go there, we went there for open dialogue. And that's what's important with the citizens, an open dialogue. This man, he told us about how he also gave credit to other people. And that incident that happened with that lady, it happened. But it happened out of frustration. Keep in mind, we are human beings. We make mistakes. We say things that we don't really mean. But if we don't make that mistake positive, then it becomes a negative. So I just wanted to share that because it was in the paper, and I want to tell the good thing that happened out of that. We had that communication. I spent a whole hour and a half with Mr. Muhammad. He has 2 stores, and he also told his wife to, he wanted me to come back in for dinner or something. So I just wanted to tell you that people are in the community listening to other voices. And I just want to say, Mayor, the citizens don't know all these legal things that you have. You have to understand that when you say citizen review, we just think about citizens. And I thank you for explaining what advisory board means. See, we didn't hear all of that. And what's important is what happened today. Now we feel a little bit comfortable. We know what that is. We didn't know. So please don't blame us because we're not ignorant. We just don't know because you didn't explain it to us. So just taking my still consider us that we are important. And I tell you that today, Mr. Muhammad, he made me proud to say that when Speak Up and when we come together with nonviolent projects, nonviolent, that we can make things happen. And that's wanted to end on a good note. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you guys doing? My name is Dwight Hunter. I'm a member of the Black Lives Matter Will County. Excuse me, I'm tired. Long day. I have a summary of the Attorney General's report and how it affects all Joliet citizens. JPD has a pattern of using unreasonable and excessive force for years. JPD has turned a blind eye to excessive force that violates the Fourth Amendment. This pattern is not limited to any one type of force, tactic, or context. Nonetheless, several trends stand out. First, JPD trains officers that proactively using force early avoids the need for more force later. This approach has led some officers to unnecessarily escalate situations and engage in unavoidable or excessive force. Second, within JPD's larger pattern of unlawful force, we have particular concerns about JPD's use of tasers, head strikes, other bodily force, and gun pointing. Third, JPD uses unreasonable retaliatory force and unreasonable force against teenagers. Fourth, we found almost no instance of any officers intervening to prevent unlawful force or officer initiate reports of concerning behavior are rare. Fifth, JPD's supervisory and force review system are ineffective. Supervisors tend to accept officers' versions of events at face value despite contradictory evidence, and JPD's force review panels functioning largely to justify officers' actions. JPD's inability to police itself sends the message from the top down that just above any level of force can be justified without consequence. My previous statements were facts quoted from the almost 200-page report that Attorney General released December 17, 2024. These unlawful practices have left the city with 29 federal civil suits since 2020, costing taxpayers millions of dollars. We ask, when will the city and JPD give us citizens full transparency on what will be done to remedy these unlawful practices? The community has lost trust in JPD. I personally know people who were assaulted by the JPD and then charged with assault and battery to criminalize and hide the wrongdoing of the police. Our ask is for transparency and accountability. Your job as our elected officials, is to protect the citizens, right? Please do that by giving us transparency and the reform of a broken system and accountability and discipline for the officers participating in all lawful practices. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Happy New Year, blessed New Year. I just had a real quick question about Ordinance 4125 with the abating of the taxes. Just wanted to know if there are any rebates that's connected to that, or is it just moving forward? Is there any retro pay that would come as a result of those abatements?
Who can answer that one? Kevin?
Oh, no, that's just, that's the bond payment that is paid in 25 for 24 tax year. There's no retro payments or, it's just, we have other sources to pay that bond payment.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Going night. Carl Farrell, citizen. So, 8 days after the Attorney General released the findings of a 3-year investigation into the policies and practices of the Joliet Police Department, which included findings of unlawful practices, lack of accountability of bad officers, lack of due diligence with investigations, civil rights violations, etc. The report also indicated and disclosed that the JPD's crisis intervention practices are still not adequate to prevent unlawful uses of force against people with behavioral health disabilities. And 8 days after this was all released, an arrest-related death occurred. Arrest-related death means that any death of an individual while the individual's freedom to leave is restricted by law enforcement. David Melito Jr. leaves behind a family that loves him and wants answers. All they have been given is rude commentary from investigators. State law SB 1304 states that a law enforcement agency shall have a written policy regarding the investigation of officer-involved deaths. It also states that the investigators in an expeditious manner provide a complete report to the state's attorney, and that there is no basis to prosecute the enforcement officer. A report should be publicly released. We refuse to sit here and watch another family have to wait months to find out what happened to their loved one. If there's nothing to hide, then show the family the body cam footage. What happened to the JCMHP, and why weren't they used? Why would someone who was calling for help and stating that they were a victim be placed in handcuffs? We've seen this happen before, and we've seen the cover-ups and the myth truths be released to the public, and we can't let that happen again. We refuse to let that happen again. We don't want any more lawsuits that will cost citizens more tax dollars, but most importantly, we don't want any more loss of life at the hands of a department that has been found by a government entity to be functioning unlawfully. We don't want cover-ups. We don't want evidence disappearing. We don't want any more lies. We want justice. We want justice for David Melito Jr. We want justice for Eric Lurie. We want justice for every family that has lost a loved one to the hands of an unlawful and biased department. We want justice for every person in Joliet that has been targeted and unjustly criminalized by an unlawful and biased department and their practices. We want justice for anyone who has lost a loved one and didn't get a thorough investigation, specifically the 16 families of black and brown men that were pulled out of the Des Plaines River. We want full accountability and transparency on the changes of a broken department. Now, I heard two things this evening. I heard of the citizen state, well, you know, they changed the word on that, the advisory board, but you do want citizen stake in that. And then with the other council that was proposed earlier for citizen stake in emergency response teams. Well, we ask and we suggest, and it's sincerely needed to have citizen stake in a citizen review board for policies and practices against officers found guilty of misconduct, as far as with their disciplinary actions and as far as it's with the investigation. That would prove to be sufficient and essential, you know what I mean, in this situation. We open to discuss any of these issues before we yell it out in the streets. Everybody up here, well, almost everybody up here has my contact information, so, you know, if you open the dialogue and you want to move forward and try to find some resolution, you know how to get in contact with me.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council this evening?
Chelsea Thien, citizen. Along with Carl, I lost a loved one who he was speaking of, and I also do social work myself. And I think that I just want to speak on the issue that we have with how police are responding to certain situations, especially with the mental health. Mental health is such a huge crisis that's going on right now. how police officers are trained, how they're able to handle that. I think there just needs to be more training in that area, so that way things like this could probably be prevented. So that's all I wanted to speak on.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the council this evening?
Actually, I'd like to address the council on a matter that what's happening downtown and what you're gonna do with the former Pay parking lot to turn it into a park. And I'd like to ask your consideration to not turn it into a park and take a vote, because you're gonna have nothing but problems down there. For one, you're gonna take away parking from current businesses like the Chicago Street Pub and the Alpha Antique Vintage Vinyl and Record and Poster Shop there, and the antique store, the Crystal Square building, and the Fusion Taco and another restaurant, plus the University of St. Francis, and a lot of other buildings that need that for their businesses for parking during the daytime and nighttime hours when they're open. And you're gonna have a problem. You're gonna have a lot of problems with vagrants down there with beer bottles, wine bottles, and booze bottles, and they're gonna be breaking them. And you're gonna have police tied up, throwing people out of a park instead of having a nice parking place for all the businesses and residents of Joliet that make use of that. It wasn't that long ago that the police were down there by the fountain and the picnic tables more than once a day, kicking out people because of all the drinking. And those businesses have those picnic tables there for extra seating, and the city has them there for them. So the nice sandwich, a soup shop, or the Fusion Taco, people can enjoy a nice day, eat their lunch outside if they're in the Crystal Square office building or anywhere else working at the businesses I mentioned. I think it's a really bad idea to have that as a park, and it's just gonna create more problems for the police department, the city, and all the businesses and its residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to address the council this evening? Okay, seeing none, next are mayor and council comments.
I'm good, thank you.
Jerry, you're good?
Happy New Year, everybody. We're off to a great start.
Pat?
Yes, yesterday, early afternoon, when we started our pre-council meetings and council meetings here, Joliet Central had a ribbon cutting of an 8,000 square foot addition that they're using for a culinary experience that said that none of us could make it there, but it was my understanding that it was a very successful grand opening, and hopefully there'll be another opportunity for us to get to enjoy it. That's it.
Thank you.
I will keep it brief, which is unusual for me, but never in the moments where we all agree with each other are we learning a single thing. We learn things when we, through disagreement, and I think the same thing with the residents of Joliet, through disharmony and disagreement, things are sometimes pulled apart to be put back together in a better way, and also they're pulled apart sometimes on the council to come back together with a better understanding of what our residents want and where each of our viewpoints are. So never in any disharmony are we disliking each other. It's really quite the opposite. I'm learning more about these people, and they're learning about my passion for my district. And so I just want to say, like, through this disharmony, regardless of how it looks to all the rest of you, it's when we learn some of our most important things about the different districts. And I just feel like I want to convey that disharmony isn't always a bad thing. We're putting it together in a much better way to serve our residents better. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a heartfelt Happy New Year to everyone. That's it.
Thank you.
I'll echo some of the sentiment that Councilwoman Nubara expressed now, and just say that seeing the response to this comprehensive plan advisory committee, I hope that same energy and intensity is carried forth, and that as the committee goes forward and we do have these breakout sessions, focus groups, town halls, that anyone who expressed interest and wanted to be part of this process continues to express that interest and participates in what is going to be an ongoing process of, Mayor, you said 18 to 24 months. So I hope that anyone who was here tonight continues to participate as we move forward. I hope to see all of you at these town halls and events moving forward, because we do need that feedback. We need that input. And as Councilwoman Ibarra said, we're not always going to agree on every issue, and there is going to be instances of disharmony, as she said. But it is an opportunity for us to come closer together to practice conflict resolution, and ultimately, I think, come to a consensus that moves the entire city forward. So, thank you.
Yes, I'm bringing this up because yesterday I brought it up, pictures worth 1,000 words. What I brought up yesterday, and I know it's in the works, right, Greg? What I'd like to see is when the Rialto's open, or even every day, if possible, if it's feasible, if it's safe, where the elderly, handicapped, they can utilize this road, Chicago Street, to maybe drop their loved ones off at a restaurant and then maybe drive off, or at the Rialto, so they're not walking 2 or 3, 4 blocks to utilize the businesses or the Rialto. So I'm hoping, you said it was talked about, and I don't know if you have any more to add on it, but I think it'd be something in a good motion here if we could do that.
Yeah, I don't have an update other than we're exploring that. We did have a meeting with the contractor yesterday. I don't know what came of that, but we're exploring.
And again, it's just temporary, or maybe if it's just one way temporary.
Yeah,
just to utilize it. So
we're looking into that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then secondly, everybody's been affected by the water mains, repairs in front of their residents or businesses. And I talked yesterday to Allison, and she spoke publicly. The city's going to come back within a year or two and repave that. Once that water main's put in, we are coming back to repave the road. So I just wanted to make that clear to all the residents for sure. We've had all kinds of questions on that from my colleagues up here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
No comment.
I just want to applaud the passion of the community and the passion of the folks sitting up here. We're here because we love the city and we think the city loves us. We don't always agree, but we respect each other, and that will never change. I was off for a week, so I don't have a lot to talk about, but I would like to wish everyone a really wonderful 2025 with peace and all good things in abundance. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.